Mayor, I don't have any audio. There we go.
Muted for now.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. The microphone is muted until the meeting starts.
Yeah, I guess if there's no audio, you wouldn't hear that.
Yeah.
Because somebody's watching for me.
Okay.
It's off mute. So it's just that right there on the window, I'm sorry, on the table. Just got to unscrew the white extension there.
Oh, you need it?
Okay. No, I was gonna move over to the other side.
Okay. So where's David?
He's gonna be on Zoom.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know where he is.
Oh, I think it's a top secret. He won't tell anyone. Maybe a casino or something.
There, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Babe.
He likes to pretend he doesn't go
I think that's where he is. Yeah, I saw him
Just now.
I had a friend come into town.
That's my.
Grew up here, moved away and moved back. He came back. Our families were all friends.
The audio went away.
Yep.
There we go. There.
Fish and everything else.
Anyway, I'm not gonna leave it on. Yes. But yeah, I was somewhere in the. Get them out there. And when do you guys bring me an agenda? Yes. I can make that copy. Oh, yeah, I've known him for a long.
Wait, no, that was a very good household when. They did six friends.
Oh, nice.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow, very cool. Yeah. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Thank you all very much for being here this evening. I'd like to invite you to join in the. For the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call is good. All right, this is the public comment portion of our meeting. If you would like to address the council, I have a few on here already, so we'll start with that. If you could restrict your comments to 3 minutes, we would appreciate it. First, we have Kelly. Make sure to introduce yourself and where you're from, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Kelly Hume, and I live with my husband in Stevenson, about a mile up the road. I'm here tonight to address the proposed sewer ordinance, and I'm asking that you carefully consider how it impacts your constituents and to implore you to forego making a decision tonight that could have drastic repercussions. First, I want to address concerns with the ordinance itself. The provision that forces existing homeowners on septic systems to either hook up to the sewer or pay a penalty fee when a sewer line passes them is fundamentally unfair. To put that same requirement to new construction is a different story, because those who purchase or build can and should make informed decisions about the cost associated with each. But retroactively punishing residents who didn't have the opportunity to make that decision and who have already invested thousands into functioning septic systems feels arbitrary and punitive. If someone builds a home and installs a septic system because city sewer was unavailable, they shouldn't be penalized if it becomes available in the future. Furthermore, the staff memo associated with the draft ordinance indicates that 25 homes could be affected immediately if we vote on this ordinance tonight, and over 500 homes affected eventually. If these families are forced to pay either sewer fees or the maximum penalty proposed, it could cost up to $1,700 more for them every year. For many in our community who are already struggling with rising costs, this isn't just inconvenient, it's financially devastating. Not only does the ordinance itself raise some concerns, the process raises some concerns as well. Honestly, this ordinance wasn't easy for me to find. I found it on accident while looking for something else. It wasn't listed under public notices on the city's website. And while I understand that the city has been seeking input from stakeholders, which I very much appreciate, tonight is the very first reading of this newly modified version of the draft ordinance, and you're being asked to vote on it tonight. I work in public education, and major decisions such as board policies, they require multiple readings, both for transparency and for reflection. Our city deserves that same level of care when passing ordinances. Finally, like everyone else here, I also received my ballot for primary elections yesterday. I noticed that 2 council members aren't seeking re-election. And while I want to express a very heartfelt thank you for all of your service, with new voices coming in soon, there doesn't feel like there needs to be a rush to vote this through right now. So tonight, I'm respectfully asking the council to do 2 things. First, consider revising this ordinance. Remove the penalty for residents already on existing septic systems. And second, delay the final vote, either until after the election when the full future council can weigh in, or at the very least, please don't pass this ordinance tonight. Let this current draft of the proposal, which is being read for the first time tonight, have the thoughtful consideration that it deserves. Thank you for your time.
You,
Mayor, I have a question. Is there going to be public comment on the ordinance itself
That's public comment.
when the ordinance comes up for discussion?
doesn't look like it. No. All right, thank you, Kelly. Up next, Mary.
Thank you, Mayor. Mary Rapar, Stevenson, a few things. I was driving on Seymour today. It needs fixing really, really bad. It's getting worse and worse. And so is Highway 14, by the way. And we need to have a discussion with DOT about using inferior materials on our highways, which get more and more use. Seymour, Levens, and Russell all need to be fixed. There are basic infrastructure in the middle of our downtown commercial area, and they need attention. So I hope they're on the transportation list. I didn't check it today. The other thing is curb cuts. I don't know if any of you have walked by the Grange lately, but there's a curb there that's like by a sidewalk, and it has these very sharp curves that aren't even nibbled on. And I think they're dangerous, they're pointy, and we need to do better in curb cuts. And I also think that it is time to put the plaza project to bed forever. You've all been witnessing our weather. People don't like to be outside in the heat. They don't want to suffer in the heat and the sun. And those are our best months. So let's find a project that can work for the community 24/7 and that will earn some money for the county and for the city, like rehabbing the old Grange building into a community center. Yes, it is a bad building, but it's got 4,000 square feet and a commercial kitchen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Rick Jessel Stevenson, I'd like to speak about the sewer ordinance. Basically, everybody's gonna be hurt and people are already being hurt financially. With the sewer fees, so this is not ideal. It appears to be, though, a reasonable compromise among all kinds of financial interests. I can understand what people who have a functioning septic system don't necessarily want to pay a fee for not hooking up. But I'd have to suggest that it's kind of a moot issue. It's going to be 20, 30 years before most of these places, if any, actually get a sewer in front of it, because the city is, as far as the sewer committee goes, is looking for grants, very low interest loan, other ways to finance the sewer project and not do it,
It still has a minute 45. I saw it when he started. It was at 1:15.
Oh, sorry, already?
Yeah.
Keep going.
thanks. So it certainly is unpleasant for most people. I do think it's going to be a very slow process. 20, 30 years before most people have to face it. And at that time, conditions very well might change, and the septic systems put in would be relatively old at that point. So that's about it for me. Thanks, everybody, for working very hard on it in terms of the city council and all of the people associated with the sewer committee and city staff, everybody that's worked very hard on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else? Go ahead. Make sure you introduce yourself and where you're from.
Cam Kniestead, Stevenson. I also was gonna comment on the Plaza project, but we might disagree. I was gonna ask, now that we have a new city manager, when we're gonna ramp that up again. To be honest, I literally came from having ice cream cone with my grandson on that block, and it was a lot of foot traffic going on today. There were two other people sitting in the shade on those picnic tables with us as we ate our ice cream. I just made me reflect on, yes, actually, just from literally, I raced here from there. This is a place people would gather. That is like the busiest street as far as people and things going on in the city. Something there would be really nice. I mean, the tables are nice the way they are, and they were being used. But yeah, just be curious now. We've got a new head. Are we gonna kick this project up, or in Murray's view, are we gonna kick it to the side? One way or the other.
It's still under consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, there have been a few changes to the agenda.
Mr.
some
Mayor?
items around. Yes,
Comments that were written that are not in the packet.
you say that there's comments that aren't in the packet?
Yeah, I was wondering if we have received any written comments that have not been added to the packet.
Not that we know of, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda item A.
Second. Have a first and a second, any discussion?
We make an adjustment for Pat's name didn't wind up on the minutes for last month.
I made that change.
You made that change?
Yeah. Good to go.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Dave?
I abstain.
Thank you. Okay, with the sheriff's office report up.
Good evening. Are there any questions that are relevant to the documents that are provided to you from the sheriff's office for our services provided for the last month?
Anything that's not in the report that you think we should know?
I did make an error on the original 1204. It should have been 165, but I think I corrected that. So I don't know where that number came from either, so I apologize for that. Anything else? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So Ray would like to provide his update closer to the top of the order, so this seems like the perfect time to do that. So take it away, Ray.
All right, so just a couple things before we get to the new engine. We've recently been moved by the DNR to high, and we'll probably see even moved higher this year. Fuel loads are extremely dry. We haven't seen any red flags yet, but if you've been seeing, we're all really busy. Not in our district, but with mutual aid to Carson, Cascade Locks, and other places. We've also been assisting, there's been a lot more, as the sheriff's office has said, a lot more, search and rescue, pack out, stuff like that. I think they're up 500%, so we've had to assist with those. The rural district, will start with, EMS, providing the administrative services on August 1st. Lorraine has done great for us preparing us for that, but we'll move to the EMS to help with our admin and training in the future. Also, we need to get a new fire commissioner and city council meeting. The June one was postponed. I believe it was also the night of the dual fire that was sparked on Highway 14. So we had a lot of things going on. So we do need to get on that so we can talk, just did our quarterly meeting like we agreed between the city council and the commissioners. Next up, I provided all of you, Dave's not here, I can email it to him later. Or if someone else can. But it's a form, we have our bid from Twinen. They manufactured engine 23, which the county got. I just went over some rough estimates on equipping it at 200,000, contingency of 35,000. And then bringing us to the total with the contingency fund. The AFG grant opens up this winter in November. It's a 2-month period. That's the grant we got to get engine 23 for the rural district. We have additional people assisting us with that. We have the lobbyist, which a lot of the county, the port, the EDC, the city, all of us pitch in to pay for the lobbyists. They're going to help us with the grant writing. So is Marie Gruskamp Perez's office is going to help us with the grant writing. We're pushing for it as well. We're also getting information from other like US senators, Maria, the state and stuff like that, with how fire service is kind of being changed with the DNR and the US Forest Service losing some funding, about possibly getting earmarks in the future to help us with these things. But the big thing has been the rising costs. We've seen, and I talked to Ellen Curtis and C Western are probably our two biggest vendors, and they continued, their target was 7 to 15% a year on equipment, just year after year. That's what it's going to be in the fire service. So that means your equipment's doubling every 10 years at minimum. If it hits 7 is the target inflation growth. So that's where we're at on it, we'd like to get moving full steam ahead. Twinen's ready to have a pre-construction meeting with me and someone else that they'll do them throughout the build. They'll do 3 of them. Their contract says 3 years. I think their estimate is, they say, is closer to 18 months for delivery. After delivery, then we got 4 to 5 months of equipping it having all of its lights and its stickers and its radios programmed and all the tools put on it. So I think at minimum 2 years, if we get it pedal to the metal this month, we'd be 2 years from having it in service. Engine 26 is 26 years old now. It's at the end of its life. So does anybody have any questions on it? I think we put one down for all of you, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, great. How soon do they need the contingency?
What do you mean?
Is this a deposit?
No, they don't need a deposit. So that's one thing I considered. I asked Twinen for give me a scale if they need any deposits. It was minimum. It was 2 or 3%. Since the investment fund is earning so much more yearly than any sort of discount. And then the other thing is there's no reimbursement through the AFG grant. It is, you order it and anything you buy before, and then they're not going to reimburse. So we go through for the grant, maybe we get it all, maybe we get half of it or whatever. And that's why in the paragraph I said, maybe we get part of it this winter, then maybe I can buy the SCBAs, cycle them into service beforehand, because they're just going to keep going up. And it's another thing that's just going to keep going up in cost. But maybe we get all of it and then we can wait, it's kind of a, get it ordered, go for the grants. We might go through 2 AFG grant cycles before it's in delivery state as well. 2025 and 2026 to go after the grant money as well. So, but luckily for us, we do have the money we've set aside for decades at 25,000 to 50,000. We have the money to pay for it, and it's earning us a lot of interest. So, You know, and it's the city has engine 26, the older engine is the only in-service apparatus the city has.
Couple of questions, and maybe, do you know what kind of warranties this will?
Oh, yeah, they're pretty good. Like, I just took in engine 23 is 4 years old, and we had, is it called exhaust fluid? I think it's the high-end diesel exhaust, system. There's a fluid. And we thought we had just a problem with that. There was also a problem with the injectors, and it was all, I think it's 5 years, I want to say. So, yeah, I mean, I took it in last winter at 4 years, and it was all covered under warranty. It's still.
And that's probably standard in wherever this was purchased at, wherever
Yes.
you purchased.
Yeah, and
So we're getting
luckily
this-
for us, it's a Freightliner chassis, but it's also an international
Mhm.
engine. So like a lot of it's done here locally in Portland too. So we're not, you know, it was dropping it off down in the port of Portland for a week to get fixed.
And I just have one more question. I know a lot of us are pretty happy that numbers you talked about were
Oh, yeah.
a lot lower than numbers you talked about before. For the benefit of the public, could you briefly explain the process you went through to pick this company? I mean, how did you make the decision to go with this one?
So this one, Toyin is a really good reputable manufacturer, but they're not your Pierce and Rosenbach. Those are the $1 million plus engines all day long. Fire District 1 uses Toyin engines. Engine 23 is a Toyin pump. The goal has been with some of us chiefs to go with, especially with Fire District 1, to get engines that, so if we're on a scene, I know I can operate all of Carson's pumps or trucks themselves, because the pump, even though they went with the custom engine, we have the commercial, the pump, the generator and everything is laid out exactly the same. So Toyin is a middle of the road, really good engine, but the goal has been for us, especially because we partner with Carson. They went with Toyin before us, but it's going with Toyin now, so that this pump and engine, other than this will be a 5-seater and not a pumper tender like 23. All of how it drives, the buttons you hit to put it in 4-wheel drive, active there, it's all the pump and everything is all the same. So especially for a volunteer department that people aren't driving it daily and stuff like that, it's really a big deal. Like, it really helps with the cross functionality of things to have engines that operate the same. And just that's the biggest part of it. The rest of it is we chose a chassis, and that's the truck itself without all the equipment and everything on it. That was delivered to Idaho a few months ago, so that saved us about $100,000 in engineering and stuff like that. All we did is changing out some of the work boxes and toolboxes and stuff like that. But it is a chassis that they delivered in Idaho. It was in the magazine. We met with them a couple times, and we did the same with 23. And it saves us on having to pay for engineering our own engine.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Ray, what is the warranty on this engine?
I'd have to email Larry. I can email Larry, Dave, and send it to you. But like I said, engine 23 the county has is a little over 4 years old now. And it was having an issue which we were unaware of with the diesel injector, which is a pretty expensive fix if we had to pay for it. And it was still under warranty. So I think it was 5 years on that sort of stuff. But I can email Larry, the rep, and send it to you.
Oh, are we not required to go to competitive bid?
No, us with our contract with Houston Galveston fulfills the competitive bid, not going to multiple outlets. Even with that's what we did with the engine 23 grant for the county. Now, all the tools I have to buy and equipping it, yes, I have to get 3 bids from all of the, I can do it for online, or like Ellen Curtis, just ask them and then show why. And usually price is the biggest factor, but if someone's $100 more for, let's say, a generator, but it's not a 12-month lead time, it's like a month or 2 lead time, the $100 really doesn't make a difference once we get close to delivery. But once we go through the grant process, figure out how much we can get with the funding, then that's where I'll start doing everything on it, getting 3 competitive bids, saving them. Because part of the audit when we're done is gonna be with the state is gonna show that we did that part of the equipping it, the bid part.
Okay, I'm concerned that we, are looking at going forward with this, not knowing the warranty, and the other issue is also within that paperwork that you sent out to us. They talk about a penalty clause if for some reason a year down the road we decide to pull out. Can you address that?
No, but I would ask, why would we ever pull out if you only have one apparatus that's the end of its life to decide not to purchase the apparatus?
What do you mean you can't address that?
Well, if you do order it, there probably is a penalty, Dave. Like there isn't, you can't order a $500,000 apparatus and then walk from it if you decide not to move forward after the pre-construction meeting. But, you know, I'm just curious why you're worried about, like, why would we ever cross that road, say, hey, we don't want the engine anymore?
You're saying
there are a
once
lot.
it's ordered.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. What's the procedure before it's ordered? I mean, is this, I'm not suggesting it's bad. Has this already been decided, or does this come before the council, or is there any procedure between now and when it's ordered? Yeah.
So my feeling, I think we need to like that my gut says we should have ordered this a few years ago. It's at 26 years on the chassis. You guys have one functioning asset in the fire team. Okay. So we put the money aside to order it and get going. And I'd like to get it scheduled, the pre-construction, because the longer we put it out, I think Larry said the cost already went up $100,000 while we've been waiting around. So I'd like to get it ordered. We've set the money aside to make the purchase. The city part of the fire department has, and it's time to make the purchase on the commercial end. Like we need to, if, you know, I get that, but there's not like there's only one apparatus in the city.
Well, I guess what I was asking, and I think, you know, you need a new fire truck.
Yeah.
Does that come before the city council at all, or has that already been decided? And I don't have an opinion. I'm just wanting to know the procedure.
I've only been in it for 6 months, so I don't know what the
Okay.
official procedure.
Yeah, I
Every
don't
big
know
purchase I made, the mayor just signs off on.
Okay.
Anything over 15,000, the mayor ends up, it goes to the mayor and he can sign off on it.
Mr. Broughton,
I'd
just
like-
for council to know, we would have to pass a resolution. So, and then we would waive the competitive bid because it's a sole source. And then with the resolution, then you've granted the fire department to go forward.
Yeah, okay, so then I guess it does come
Yeah.
before council, and that's just good. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say we're gonna be against this idea. I'm just trying to say, so you know,
Yeah,
that I guess we need to get it at one of the meetings.
yeah. I mean, and we could bring it up at the next fire.
Yeah.
We're trying to do that at the end of the month and it's, you know, the work's there, we're ready to get going because the worst, my fear is we don't do it. 26 has a catastrophic breakdown. What do you tell your tax base?
Yeah, so then there's time before that meeting,
Yeah.
before it's on the agenda to get all the questions, any questions
Yeah.
out there answered. Perfect.
Ray, I'd like to see a list of and amounts of the grants that you're going to apply for.
Well, the AFG grant is an all-in-one big one. It paid for all of engine 23.
Okay, so I want to see a list of the grants that you're going to apply for and how much each one of those grants will bring in so that we can take a look at that.
So Dave, I will tell you, or just remind you, I am a volunteer chief. I would ask your admin staff to take care of that.
That's not my point to ask that. That would be the mayor. But all I'm saying is that
We have the money in the savings account we've set aside for 30+ years to pay for it. So we should prepare to, just me, if I was running it as my business, I would prepare to pay for it and hope we get grants. The money's in the fire account.
I don't like hoping for money. I'd like
Well,
to know, I'd
that's
like
why
to
the
know what
money's
the
in the
amounts are.
fire account,
Yeah,
Dave.
we've talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah,
This
we
isn't-
have
this
it
isn't a
in the fire
surprise.
account to pay for it.
There's probably no problem with getting somebody coming up with a list of, we're gonna apply for these grants, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, I don't think Dave is saying that he's against this.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, we're only applying for one.
Yeah,
Okay,
grant,
so
and-
then
and
that'd be
the-
on the
and-
list,
And
just
the
the one
cap of that
grant.
would be the.
And that's
here's
all,
the-
this is in that
Yeah,
sheet. I
so
just
here's
shared
the
with
one
you.
grant.
Yeah.
the list.
It's one grant and the total for the grant would be 770,000.
Yep.
Is the maximum
Okay.
amount, potential amount that we could receive.
Yeah.
Just so council knows, AFG grants are under the FEMA regulations. Good luck, is what I would say,
Yeah,
based on your current political
Yeah,
situation.
because that
We
would
got
be a
FEMA have
valid
funds.
question, is the likelihood of us getting it, so then we know.
FEMA may not be here, so
Yeah.
that grant application may go.
You'd
away.
have to account for the worst.
right.
It's a pumper truck, right?
23 is a pumper in tendering. This will be, yes, it's a type 1 engine. It'll have the
This is a
150 gallons a minute pump, 5-seater, 1,000-gallon tank.
Got it.
More
But
of
it's
a,
not an apparatus car. You've been there.
no
aerial.
ladders, no aerial. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all I got. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, sewer ordinance, Ben.
Sewer ordinance, you all had the workshop in just over a month ago, June 16th, where you presented your requested changes to the ordinance. We reviewed all of those requested changes. Those are all included in the draft that's attached to a staff report. The staff report does break down what the penalty amount could be. There are 3 numbers in there. We've presented the upper amount and the lower amount to you before. In this one, there is a recommended amount. The recommended amount excludes all of the operations and maintenance related to running the wastewater treatment plants, treating waste, that gets flushed down into a lake. And so the members of the community who are choosing not to connect to an available sewer line would not be paying for that cost that is involved when somebody flushes a toilet. It does include the operations and maintenance related to utility billing and preparing the bills and running the utility in that way. Customer service staff. It excludes staff costs for admin, city administrator, community development director, public works director, planning public works assistant. So that is in the staff reports with the recommendation attached. Also to that is a draft fee schedule that is preloaded with that recommendation, but of course you can change that. The process tonight, if you do choose to vote on it, would be to first consider the ordinance and whether you want to adopt that. Adopting that would enable your establishment of the penalty amount. And so the resolution adopting or establishing the penalty amount would be the second action if you choose to act.
Then I'd like to ask Kelly, did you get a chance when you were going through the documents, did you get a chance to see this? Okay, so you looked at the proposed penalty amounts,
Yes,
okay, and you were able to see the timeline of the things that council and our sewer ordinance committee, the different days and things, presentations and so forth that we've.
yes, sir, and I very much appreciate all the time you guys have spent on this.
Okay.
Can I ask, were you done with that?
No.
Just a point of order. So is this a first reading? tonight? I mean, does it, usually what I'm used to on the agenda is saying first reading, then second reading the next month. So is this, I mean, is this, official first reading of the ordinance?
I didn't see the agenda, but my understanding is that's what we were doing tonight is the first reading, but the second reading has been waived so that you could vote tonight if you wanted to. Obviously, if council chooses to make another proposal, it's certainly up to the council.
But on,
The only difference between tonight's and this, you really have been the minor changes that we made at our workshop.
okay, but, the way I understood, the reason that point, I don't want to, get into the substance of it, the point of order is, I remember the last time, one of the things we left to this meeting was the fee and to talk about that. So we were gonna have a discussion on that tonight. So then that could change the fee because,
Right, that's as Mr. Shoemaker pointed out,
Yeah.
he has a plug in there. Council chooses to change that penalty plug to the other number. That's all you're doing.
So, yeah.
Add it to the ordinance at that point.
so we could do that, even though the way I understood the, questioning is one of the, like section 9 of our ordinances talk about, the 2 readings of the ordinance are required except when there is an urgent need. And so I don't know if this would qualify as an urgent need. So my understanding, usually we would have, this is a first reading and it's on the agenda as a first reading. And I didn't see any of that on there. And then we have a process for the first and second reading. And then the way I'm reading section 9 of the ordinance is there'd be a second reading next month. And so what you're saying is, so I guess
You don't
that's my
have to
question.
have, right, you don't have to have a second meeting or reading in light of the changes that you made in the workshop. But if you wish to have a second reading, that is certainly the council's prerogative.
Okay, I guess I was just wondering is, do we satisfy the ordinance saying that you can avoid the second reading if you want, if there's an urgent need? I'm trying to figure out if we have an urgent need, if we satisfy legally that requirement.
Yeah.
Somebody. I mean,
Yeah,
We've had a first and a second, and the changes have not been substantial. So we're not even, we're not.
Yeah, I'm not trying, I
The
wasn't
public
trying to,
hearing
I'm just
process
used to, you have a completed ordinance and then you do a first and a second, that's all. That's my only point. So I don't know, I didn't feel we had a completed ordinance. Yeah, is all I'm trying to say. And that's the end of my point on the point of order.
My concern on this is also the, our council procedures. It requires, Mr. Muth to sign off on the ordinance, prior
I lost you,
to
Dave.
meetings. Pardon?
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second there. Didn't know if you said anything. I apologize.
The, requires that our city attorney sign off on the ordinance. Then
Yes,
it's
sir. There's
presented.
always a signature line for the ordinance or resolutions for the city attorney to sign off. Obviously, I'm not making any changes because those are made by council. The legislative body, not legal counsel.
And I understand that, but the way that the procedures are written, it has you sign off on them and then the council has two readings of the document.
You sign after.
I mean, I sign off after it's been approved by the council. I don't sign it before that. I've read it many times, but again, my interjection would be stepping over the line into policy. So that's not my role. My role is just to simply advise as to whether or not you have a provision that's proposed that would violate some sort of RCW.
Okay, so I guess my question is, have you reviewed this document?
I've read it every time we've put it out in terms of reading it, but again, I'm not weighing in, Mr. Cox, on the policy issues of one, whether or not you should have the ordinance or the specific terms, except to the extent that they would violate an RCW. And I have not seen, I mean, we did that when we looked at whether we could impose a penalty versus a fine or a tax. And we reviewed it and made those changes to make sure we didn't violate the existing case law on that issue. But I have not made any, proclamations as to, oh, you guys shouldn't do this or you should do this. That's your purview and I don't want to invade that.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to make a motion, Mayor.
Mr. Rice had another comment though.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just saw you. I didn't know if Dave saw you. Sorry.
I know.
What's your motion?
I'd like to move that we postpone review of this until after we get a financial director in place to review the actual financial picture of what we actually owe. And that will allow us to get a better handle on where the fees are coming from, because right now it seems to be a guess based on some 42 cost centers that aren't enumerated. And there just seems to be a lot of cloudiness to the financial side of this. And I think that needs to be addressed so that we have solid figures to be able to say whether we're paying a $140 a month bill or $75 a month bill. And right now, nobody can seem to answer that question.
So, all right, there's a motion on the table.
I would second that motion.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Cox, just so I can make sure, your motion is to table the ordinance at this time until the city has engaged and hired a financial director?
That is correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I understood the motion.
You understand that you've been in a part of this from the get-go. The rate studies, what we're gonna have to do to put through the rates to fulfill our debt. This council has been here every step of the way. So I'm confused why waiting for someone who has zero context on this, that's not even gonna be hired for 2 months, is going to change.
Well, I've asked for documentation at least twice, and nobody can seem to come up with the figures as to exactly why the rates are the way they are. And I want to make sure, that those are the correct rates.
So we have a motion on the table, and we're just debating it.
Okay,
Wait a
there's a
minute.
first,
You got first and a second.
Okay, I
Because you seconded. That, I want to make, did you second the motion?
Yeah,
Is that
I-
described? Thank you,
there's
Mr.
been a
Cox.
first and a second. Is there discussion?
Discussion.
Okay, that's where I got confused.
Discussion, please.
Okay, discussion. We actually have proposal for two separate motions to be made, one to pass the ordinance, the other one to discuss passing fee schedule. So if your concerns are predominantly regarding the penalty amounts or how the fee schedules are put together, we might want to set that as a separate issue. We've actually, just as far as the ordinance is concerned, Ben outlined a pretty good timetable of all the different meetings that we've had. The sewer committee met last year, provided a report in January.
Well, I guess my question comes back to,
Dave, let Chuck finish.
yes. Oh, I thought he was done. I'm sorry.
Sorry. That we had provided a report, the committee had provided a report to council in January, that we had meetings in February, March, April. We workshopped this last month, and we've had innumerable opportunities to present this to the public. So we've had public hearings. We've actually outlined all the provisions for this ordinance. If the only issue that we have at this point is looking at a fee or an appropriate amount for the penalty, that should be discussed as a separate issue. We should at least look at the first motion that we possibly have before us, which is to pass this ordinance tonight.
Any further discussion?
Yes. Chuck, I think we have more than just the fee to discuss, because we have a lot of broader questions that both Mr. Cox and myself, Dave and myself have given Wes to help with this motion in context. Now, we've had two people testify tonight that really there's no financial impact on this right away. In other words, there's no hurry to get this passed because it's not going to do anything for a while, except maybe affect those 25 people. And there's a lot of questions on that. So we're not being hurt. There's nothing that's going to happen next month or the next month because this ordinance passes. We don't even know where any future sewer lines would be. And the only people at risk in the near future is those 25, and they haven't even been notified yet. So I don't see why it's not being obstructionistic to delay it, because we've had numerous financial questions about a lot of things, and some of us don't even have a lot of questions about the budget, and the sewer and everything is a really expensive part of that. So just having those overall questions, and we've explored all the different funding mechanisms, including the bond, which could change how we look at this totally if we ever decided to go that way. I don't see where we're hurt by it. One of the questions I've asked, and I'll be quiet for a while, is like who the 25 people are that are affected, what are their names and what are their addresses? Have we contacted them? And I've been asking that for a couple of months, and I've still not gotten that list. So what I've learned is that the only people that seem to know about this in the community that have a good understanding, it's a very limited number of people, and a lot of people know nothing about this ordinance. So whatever, those are my points right now.
Any further discussion? The motion is to table this discussion until next month. Those in favor?
No, until we hire.
Until you've
until we
engaged a
hire, and
financial
then, okay.
director.
All in favor of tabling this discussion until a finance director is hired? Say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the nays carry. So we're back to the matter at hand, the sewer ordinance as presented. Any discussion on the ordinance? Any further discussion?
Yeah, so I'd like to know about the 2 emails that were sent in to the city council and why those weren't included in the public comments. Because you just said that there were no public comments that were given to the city. And I've got 2 of them sitting right in front of me that discuss some very interesting legal issues about this.
I
think
were typically included here, so
Robert,
if they weren't here, then that was my mistake.
okay.
And I didn't realize that they were to be put in the packet.
Hey, Mr. Cox, can you just, for the record, just who are the 2 emails from, so that we at least have that in the meeting minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
One is from Larry Deskin, Deskin. And that was sent in on July 16th. The other one is from Robert Hume.
Robert, I'm sorry, one more time.
Robert Hume, Hume. And that was on the 15th, and I believe that Mrs. Hume also gave public comment this evening. And I really think that we need to take a look at those issues that they both bring up.
So looking at the one from Larry, it is a letter addressed to city council. I don't see anywhere where it says, please include this in public comments for the next meeting, which is usually the way that mechanism works.
So what you're saying, Mayor, is that emails to city council aren't public comment?
I think what Mr. Cox, I believe what the mayor is saying is that simply, most times when you see an email come in, that the person who has drafted or crafted the email has asked that it be placed in the packet. With deference to our new city manager, he may not have been up to speed that those items typically come in, the day before or the day of our city council meetings, and then they are sent out electronically to you as council members so that you can see them in your packet. They did not go out in this case, as the city manager noted, just simply because he wasn't aware of that particular issue. So and I'm just rounding out the facts here. Mr. Cox, I'm not trying to advocate or pontificate either way.
No, I understand that. Thank you, Mr. Muth. My only concern is if the public doesn't know what these emails contain, we may get a whole lot of different public comment about this ordinance.
So, okay, so typically, just, Mr. Cox, just again, so those emails would be included this evening, they would have been sent to you respectively as council members. And then uploaded later on into the agenda packet.
Typically at the request of the sender.
Again, yes, sir. So it's not
So
to say
then-
that they shouldn't be considered, just simply saying that they weren't asked to be included in the packet, but I agree with you. Whenever we receive a comment from a citizen, that to the extent it's on something that's in the agenda, that it should be uploaded into the packet. It's just unfortunate, we typically get those either the day before or day of the meeting.
So can I respond to those emails?
Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
But can I include my fellow city council members in that email?
Oh, yeah, well, wait, are you sending an email right now on that issue?
If I were to get this email,
Yes, sir.
which is to city council, can I respond all to that email?
No,
No, sir, you'd have to send your own separate email to the city administrator, and then that would be uploaded. If you send it to all of you, then you are having a public meeting about the issue. You know, I mean, it's a silly rule, but that's the rule. It's like you could send it to Mr. Rice. Mr. Rice can send it to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson can send it to Mr. Oldfield.
yeah,
It's a silly rule, but that's the way it's written is, you know, you can't have a majority of your council members engaged in discussion on an item that's on the agenda outside of the council meeting.
Okay,
just as an FYI.
I'm just,
Dave,
I am,
just-
I
just
am-
as
I
an
am ju-
FYI,
Hang on,
go ahead.
Exception.
Mr. Cox, yeah,
Got more
Mr.
comment.
Oldfield had one comment.
go for it.
Just as an FYI, I did respond to Mr. Lecton personally, but I did it as an individual email. That's always your choice.
No, and you can respond to the citizens.
Right.
Absolutely. Just don't copy the
Don't
rest of
copy the rest of
council.
the council.
Again. Procedural rules.
Can I ask a
And
question?
if you want the rest of the council to read it, we can respond to.
Yeah.
the city administrator, he can send that
Send it
out
out.
to all of us if that was.
Yes, if
Okay.
he just, yeah. Which is why he would include that email in the packet and it
Right.
gets sent to all of you. So
Right.
it's not a communication or discussion about city business.
Correct.
It's outside of the council meeting.
Correct.
Can I ask a question as part of the discussion?
Is it discussion on the ordinance or are we
Yes.
gonna continue to talk about?
Discussion
Yeah,
on
the
the
way the
ordinance.
package
I have
is
a
put
question
together.
about the ordinance.
Do we have discussion or we put a motion on the table first?
Typically, you have a motion and a second before you have further discussion, but I think you guys are still debating the issue to formulate the motion.
Just the question I have is, do we know who the 25 people are that could be affected by this ordinance immediately? And do we know who they are? Name and address.
Of course.
So Wes said, no, we don't know.
Oh, well, I'm saying, I don't know.
Okay, but
Personally,
does any of the
but
staff
we-
know who these people are by name and address?
How
That's
does
all.
this have anything to do with the
Those
ordinance?
people are gonna be the first ones impacted by this ordinance, and I'm just wanting to know if we know who they are. And then I was gonna ask that question first, and we either know who they are or we don't. And if we knew who they were, I was then gonna ask if we told them about this. If we notified them of what we're doing here. So that they know that this could impact them right away. That's all I was asking, those things.
I haven't put together a list. I believe that Carolyn did when she was here. I haven't looked for that. Every water and sewer customer was provided with the notice of the ordinance, and so they received it along with everyone else. The expectations of the city council coming out of the workshop last time were to incorporate the changes that you all had requested, make that publicly available and present a fee schedule. The contact to those 25 people was not
Actually,
explicit
I've been raising
expectation.
that as an issue for a couple months.
It wasn't an explicit expectation of the council as. a
I
whole.
think Wes can attest that I've been explicit about that in emails to
Can we
him.
please get back?
No, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that
Kind of are.
that Ben is wrong on the
Well,
point.
But at the end of the meeting, when he said, what is expected of me by next meeting? What was the expectations were, that was not included in that, when it was out loud in the meeting. We can go back and watch that video, was the
No,
expectations
I
are.
think I have a right to ask follow-up questions after a meeting, and I did. So I think it's a legitimate question. I'm trying to protect the council. Those 25 people find out what we've done. They're gonna be upset with us. I'm trying to have us look good to them. That's all.
And I'm not trying to upset anybody, I'm just saying.
No, I'm trying not to upset the 25 people.
I think we've had about a year and a half's worth of public meetings.
And we still haven't notified those 25 people.
This could go on all night.
Yeah.
Is anybody prepared to make a motion
Yes,
on the
I
ordinance?
will make a motion. I would like to make a motion in favor of approving an ordinance of the city of Stevenson, Washington related to sewer service, providing for severability and an effective date is presented.
With
Second.
first and a second. With further discussion.
I have a statement if I'm allowed to.
In discussion, yes.
Okay.
We're still in discussion.
I am concerned about, what Kelly has presented tonight. I've also read other emails that present concerns regarding the implementing this ordinance. And the one thing that I will say starting off is that this issue is a very difficult issue for everybody, the city, our citizens concerned, and it's an issue that has been kicked down the road for the last 20, 30 years. And if we don't deal with it now, it's going to be on our tables 20 or 30 years from now. I served on the city planning committee tasked with the responsibility of revising our existing city's outdated ordinance for city sewer system. And at that time, this ordinance made no provisions for improving existing inventory of properties within the city limits that didn't require the owner to bring sewer line to the property at their own expense. This effectively made individuals' owners' properties worthless if the expense of doing so was cost prohibitive, and the existing ordinance made few provisions for city responsibility in bringing the service to the said properties. Pending review of this ordinance and the prospective new legislation, the city imposed a moratorium on new septic systems. And the committee's review and subsequent recommendations to council was to outline some key changes that needed to be made. Number one, that the city accept the responsibility and the burden of making sewer service available to individual property owners at city expense. And until such availability, individual property owners would be allowed to install a residential septic system to the property, making their properties marketable again. It should be pointed out that such provisions were meant to be an accommodation to property owners, not an appropriate solution. The committee further discussed in great detail that in exchange for this concession, homeowners would be required to connect to this system when it became available. There were many discussions about when this should happen and under what circumstances, but the main thrust was always to make it a goal to get everyone inside our city limits on the system to help spread the cost burden to all residents. These provisions are already accounted for in our state's revised code, RCW 35.67.190. All property owners within the area served by sewage system shall be compelled to connect to their private drains and sewers with such city or town system under such penalty as the legislative body of such city or town may by ordinance direct. I have always believed that a viable city sewer system should be considered as a public utility, just like water, gas, and electricity. As such, just like our schools, fire protection, and law enforcement, we recognize the public utility as a necessity. These are services that all of our residents should be fiscally responsible for because they provide for the public good and make our city a healthy, thriving community that people want to be a part of. I acknowledge that there are homeowners that have put in perfectly functioning and costly residential septic systems, and this is why there are numerous remedies provided in this ordinance. There are remedies that designate time phased in provisions. There are remedies for discounts, reduced fees, and even excluded SDC costs. And if these are not enough, there are remedies for appeals that can even occasionally exclude the necessity of a hookup at all. I do hear the argument that some have a perfectly well-functioning septic system that they paid quite a bit of money for. Why should they have to connect to the city sewer system? Well, two things. First, they don't actually have to connect as long as they are willing to pay a prescribed penalty each month. Two, residents who are connected to the city's sewers are currently shouldering the cost burden of upgrading our system required by the state. They don't have the luxury of being able to disconnect from this system to install their own septic system to bypass this responsibility any more than they have the right to dig a well to bypass our water bills. Our city sewer is a system that will eventually be used by each of us. And I believe that we should all share in its cost, and even here, council will make an equitable provision for an amount to be assessed that should residents choose not to connect. To my fellow council members, we have met and discussed these provisions at great length. We have discussed this ordinance in several public meetings. We have held sessions open to the public to have made many adjustments given public and council input. We workshopped many of these final details at length last month. This ordinance is ready to pass. We have all shared in its construction, and I would encourage each of us to codify this hard work by unanimously providing for its assent.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to comment a couple of things that Chuck said. Chuck, I know that this is a tough issue and there's no right or wrong on some of this stuff. And any of the objections I have are, I mean, in other words, we're all trying to do what's right here. But we just may disagree on that. So, you know, and the comments I wanted to make is in response, it's the ordinance you cite or the state statute you cite is permissive. In other words, we don't have to, we can do something that doesn't mean we have to require people to hook up. And then, I know you've used the utility analogy, but a lot of people, PUD does not require people to hook up. You can have your solar panels on your house and PUD will not mandate it, neither will the gas company or
You
the
can't
cable.
drill a well, you can't put your own.
But
gas.
that's only the water and that's just the water that you're stuck with. All the others are permissive. I mean, you don't have to hook up to them. And so I'm just trying to say, as you've used that analogy a lot, I don't think it applies. I think it's permissive. You're not stuck.
I just keep the discussion focused.
Well, no, I'm just trying to, it was an argument that was used, so it's legitimate for me to talk about.
Dave, last chance.
Yes, I'd like to say some couple things. This ordinance is not ready to go. There are issues in it that still need to be discussed. In Ben's cover letter, he states sewer rates and charges ensure revenues are sufficient to cover cost forecasts for one, the operations and maintenance of the utility, repayment of debts incurred to build the utility, and repairs, upgrades, and expansions of the utility. But yet, for some reason, we don't have it laid out as to how we are going to take care of those debts. We expect the ratepayers to pay that. In the table 13080701 talks about in existing development. That means anybody that has a house right now where public sewer is available, continuation, repair, or alteration of any development type which does not necessitate expansion of the existing OSS under public sewer available is required to connect to public sewer. So Chuck, you're wrong because they are required to connect. Now, if you want to do a remodel on your house, guess what? That falls under continuation. If you want to build a wall out there on your property, that's continuation. So how do you, I guess my fellow council members, how do you I'm on the sewer. So if this passes or not, it really doesn't affect me personally other than my monthly bill. But what about the folks down there that are struggling to make ends meet, that have put in all the money for their septic systems, and now we're telling them that because sewer's available, you will have to connect? It
Isn't the current status
doesn't-
quo that they are required to connect if it's within 300 feet?
Yeah. that don't-
No, that's new construction.
Only new construction?
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. And so I guess I would say this: we as council members are to represent everyone. We aren't supposed to be able to take our own personal views and decide issues that are going to influence every citizen of Stevenson and how that affects them with our own personal interpretation of the law. We need to take a look at what is going to be best for every citizen, not just some that can afford to pay a penalty, or the state law that says we must make sure that they pay a fine if they don't hook up. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. This is ridiculous.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed.
Opposed.
Opposed?
It passes. Thank you. All right, next up is the fee schedule. Are you doing the presentation on that one, Ben?
I can expand on it if there are any questions. The draft fee schedule is there in addition to this inclusion of penalty amounts discussed. There is a change to clarify how SDCs are calculated. It was left off of however this fee schedule evolved before. It says that you are to pay a certain dollar amount per gallon or per pound of BOD, but it doesn't specify time there. So the intended timeline for that rolls per day. And it provides the ability to calculate that for commercial uses. It also eliminates what was the redundant fee schedule at the ballot measure not passed. So that fee schedule is eliminated from this and cleaned up as part of this presentation.
guess the money rolls, and I'll make a motion to approve a resolution of the city council of the city of Stevenson, Washington, adopting a comprehensive fee schedule as presented.
I'll second.
We need clarity on which fee schedule. Are we just going for the recommended?
Recommended.
The recommended.
As recommended. All right, so we have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know what those financials are based on.
The table, or sorry, the graph on page 2 of the staff report is taken from the rate setting consultants that were hired and gave several presentations to the city council before the change in 2024, early 2024. The projections there outlined. So the dark green bars are the operations and maintenance that goes into treating waste. The light green and the purple are paying off the debts incurred to build out the system. And then the gold is new capital projects. That this would be for the expansion of the system, as has been part of this discussion, that the city bear the burden of that. That means the ratepayers bear the burden of that. In addition to the system expansions, this would be for upgrades to the plants. We've just done a major upgrade to the primary treatment system. Phil, you can correct me on this. So the primary treatment But there are future upgrades to the solids handling and the clarifiers that will be needed at some time too. So these projections are based on all of those. It's a fantastically detailed workbook that the rate setting people have. I think there are more than 30 sheets on there that are interlinked to make the analysis and provide the recommendations that were presented to you last year.
Well, I'd like to know where we're at right now. Since we moved the ARPA money in, what is our balance right now? And are those fees based on that balance, or is this based on what the original document showed with all the different colors? Big difference.
This is not based on the ARPA. We are currently engaged with the rate setting consultants to include that ARPA contribution to it, which we anticipate will bend this increase curve down. But they have not yet produced that analysis. When they do, we will ensure that they present it as they did to you last time, and we'll try to provide the color to that, showing, addressing the questions that you have.
Then we should not pass an ordinance or a resolution that has brand new fees to it when we don't have the information. That's my comments.
Ask a question. I'm confused. In this fee schedule, I mean, we have the part that talks about the minimum recommended and the maximum in a couple of different areas. So is the way this is being presented, if we just passed it, we're going with the middle ground?
Was recommended, correct. That's the
So-
way that,
Which is about 40% of the base fee.
And part of this would affect the property owners. Some of this stuff in this fee schedule, unless I'm wrong, would affect. That's where I'm getting confused. Would it affect like the 25 people that the part? So,
Yes.
so I'd like to, I mean, are we ready for a motion?
Motion don't, yeah.
Okay, so, and that would, so when you're saying you made that motion, you're going with the recommended. That's what I got confused.
That's
about.
correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, I'm with you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
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 Thank you. All right, Wes, you're up with the TBD fund.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so essentially for this, this has to do with the transportation benefit district that the council passed and which recently went into effect on July 1st. And so this is authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the sewer and water fund. And council opted for the initial transfer, which is $270,000 a year. And so since we are halfway through the year, it will be $135,000. And
270.
oh, sorry, did I misspeak? Yes, 270.
Right, what number is that? I think I got the old
All
agenda
right.
online. I should have got it printed out. when I changed it.
council business B.
Okay. Okay, so it's 10B.
10B, I'm sorry, yeah, 10B.
Ready?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah,
Sure, I'll take a motion.
So is this the ordinance correct number? I will make, okay, I will move it.
oh, C. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Yeah, go ahead. It's B. It's B and
Okay,
then
so
D
I
is
think
the-
online had the wrong.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-1229, authorizing budget transfer of funds from the general fund to the health.
Second.
First and a second, is there any discussion?
Wes, question, if we get $150,000 in between July 1st and December 31st, what is the amount of money it's going to be transferred to sewer fund?
Well, as of right now, it's simply the initial transfer. So for the rest of this year, it would be 135,000. But the overage funds would be up to council to dictate if they would like to.
That would be an
We had already-
amendment at
we
that
had-
time. Yes.
We'd already discussed that, and we decided that any amount that taxes come in from the 03, that same amount is going to be pulled back from the general fund and put into the sewer fund.
Correct. So
That's what we already
that's-
agreed on.
We did. That's just, it would be an amendment at that time though, because we don't, it's not
an unknown
in
number.
yet. So when it's done, when we get there, we would make that adjustment as it was it's agreed upon to do. We just have to make an amendment at that time.
Or
I just want to ensure,
to do that, if that happens at the time.
Point of order, could we make the motion to
Right now,
approve
just
this and then go and any other amounts? We would direct the city administrator to transfer that. So then we got it covered with one
And
motion.
you have to cover a shortfall too.
Well,
No.
that could be, right.
So, yeah, Mr. Rice, in December, you would have come before you any amendments to the budget so you could close out. And then obviously, if you have tax dollars that come in January from December that would be associated with this fund, you would then make that adjustment too before you close out the budget to report to the
Yeah,
state.
I think we're all on the same page
Yeah,
as
yeah,
to
we all
what's to
want it to
happen. I was just trying to figure out if there's a way to codify it even more, so you didn't have to go back to look at the minutes and go, oh, yeah, the council made that. To make it part of the motion is all I was going for, but I'm not.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and that was a concern. What if future councils don't continue that trend, that tradition? And I don't know what to tell you about that. You guys have set this up in such a way that these are your wishes, and that's the way it's set up. But any money that's coming in or doesn't come in to the end of the year is unknown, and it's hard to say what. So the mechanism is, we will look at those monies at the end of the year, and we will make a budget amendment, and all of that money will go into the sewer. Correct. Yeah. Further discussion?
If I could just interject, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Rice, I just want to make sure in my notes, the idea is that the council has discussed and the wishes of council is that any surplus or deficit is still addressed to the sewer fund, water sewer fund, from the 03 tax dollar.
From that point of, yeah,
Surplus.
yeah,
Surplus.
yeah, that's all I was saying, if there was a way to put that in there.
No, I just want to make sure
Any
that,
deficits are gonna have to come out of the general fund.
well, yeah, they
Yeah.
have to get pulled back out, yeah. But you'd have to make that adjustment by motion
time,
at the time.
Done, yeah,
Yeah.
it's saying there's no way to.
We talked about that. We were trying to find a way.
Okay, got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I,
All right, thank you, Dave. All right,
Was that an aye or? was that-
I to the opposed, he opposed.
I got unanimous.
Oh, no, I think David opposed.
Oh, Dave, did you oppose? I apologize. I put down unanimous. Is it
I think he
4-1?
said aye.
unanimous.
Unanimous.
Okay, so
I've
he
heard
did.
aye.
Yeah, cause I
Opposed
thought, do I need hearing aids yet?
All right, very good.
The lag.
Ben,
Right, you've been presented with a resolution to adopt a 6-year capital facility plan and transportation improvement plan. This is something that we do every year that allows us to budget for things like sewer rates that we just considered in the last one. That gold segment of the rate category is based on the planning that we do at this level. So the document that's presented is based off of the document that's presented in May for public hearing. And you saw this in June as well. There haven't been any changes since June. The changes since May are what we've talked about, is trying to do less better, trying to bend that implementation curve out a little bit so that we're not just run ragged and not able to do the public engagement.
don't forget the comma, do less. That's less.
Less comma.
Do less. better. So bending that implementation curve out allows us to do things better. The other changes from the plan as it was presented last year was to round out projects from other city plans. So you've adopted a parks plan. Those projects in the capital improvement section of the parks plan were not on this document last year. They're on this document now. I don't believe the fire hall was on this document last year. It is on this document now. So end of the point.
Mr. Mayor, about mine. As council considers the TIP or the CIP, whichever one to call it, just a reminder is that by statute, the city is obligated to prepare and adopt the comprehensive transportation program for a 6-year period. Once it's adopted, it has to be then filed with the Secretary of Transportation State. Just a note from the statute, the purpose of the section is to assure that each city and town shall perpetually have available advanced plans looking into the future for not less than 6 years as a guide in carrying out and coordinating transportation program. It is not mandatory that anything on the TIP has to be done. It's not mandatory that the TIP projects have to be shovel ready or grants in place. This can be and what they call aspirational as well. So just wanted to let the council know that the purpose of the plan is just so everybody knows that the city is looking at or would anticipate a particular program in the future. It may be funded programs, but it may not be. But by having them on the plan, which we're required to produce, you can then apply for those grants or other available funding opportunities. If you don't have them on the plan, it is potential that you couldn't receive a particular grant because it's not something you've been targeting or working on. So those are just, my comments on the statute as you consider the TIP itself.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2025-454 capital and transportation improvement program as presented.
Second.
So first and a second, is there any discussion?
Yes.
Feel free.
As I recall in previous years, and 1 year since I've been on the council, we had a council retreat at one point, and that was to go over these projects. And I know that this year we've not had an opportunity for various reasons, some of them are legit. We haven't had a council retreat to really go over, well, what is, take a hard look at what's the focus and see what we really want to prioritize. So I wish that had happened. On this list, I've asked a couple different meetings and in different emails. I was just real curious. When you have staff members that are planners, I mean, a lot of education into what they do and a lot of expertise. And I said, what are the 3 most important things that the city staff works with every day? What are the top 3 things on this list that they think we need immediately? And I guess I've never heard an answer to that. And one answer that I heard in the past is, well, that's up to the council. No, I think it's teamwork because we have all these professionals that are engineers and everything. I want to know what they think, which water lines are worse, what should we, what's our emergency that's on this list? Because my concern is that the list is just this big wish list instead of a prioritization list. This is what we're going to work on and we're going to get these things done in this order. My concern about the list is there's things on there that are pretty pie in the sky that we know is never going to happen. And I'd just like to see a list that's more these are pretty important. Let's work on them. Let's start now. More urgency to the list and not just a wish list, because then everything on there just becomes something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So those are my only points.
The only comment that I'll make in regard to that, Pat, in answering your question is if you look.
It wasn't a question, it was just a comment.
Okay. If you look at the timeline on each of the items, it kind of gives you their priority.
Yeah, I know some of those things shouldn't even be on there, and we haven't had so whatever. And you can say, yeah, I've had an opportunity to, but I think I've made clear, like I've been asking, well, what are the top 3 things the staff wants? And I think that's a legitimate question. I never have had that answered. So,
well, I will say that when we rank these projects, that is part of it, is the greatest need, the urgency, and the staff has input, but there are a lot of different factors and especially what you all would like to see done. And
And is that,
prioritize it. So that's all taken into account.
and is that ranking that this list, and that ranking went into this list that we're looking at, that we're voting on tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
My only question was, are there, I didn't see anything about Seymour on here. Do we have any plans for that? Cause it's pretty bad.
Seymour has plans for this year, yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was on there, but Seymour, Railroad and Ash Alley all are on the docket for this year. And Pat, or Mr. Rice, if I may, I hadn't heard your questions or concern about, staff approval or staff input
Input, yeah.
in prior, I think you mentioned it last meeting, but I was in mediation, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't here.
Yeah,
To answer that a little bit for you, though, I do meet with the public works staff every week. And they are familiar with the list. They talk to me about their needs. They talk to me about their concerns. And many of these projects have been addressed and put on there because of their concern.
like the Columbia Street realignment, like that's on there, and it looks like the first years, and I don't know. In fact, thank you, by the way, for that information. Previously, person in your position thought that that was a low priority, but I see that that's a high priority here. So just things, anyway, okay, I realize it's almost semantics after a while, because the way this is just a wish list, it seems to me, I was trying to have it be something other than that, a little more focused.
Ms. Wright, I just had a question, and this is drawing back on my time sitting in your seat. Is the list ranking by priority now? Because
No,
over the
I don't
years, the
see
12
that.
years I did it, it's just a list. Whether or not
Right.
the prior project gets done is
Well, the
26.
priority is the timeline, like if
The
it's
time-
clear over
yeah.
on the left, and so some of these things that we know will never get done are clear over on the left.
Right.
So, right.
Yeah, and just to say, in terms of the way these are ranked, it really depends on the timeline of funding, of scoping, of planning, all of that goes into effect, so it's not,
Coordination of.
yeah, exactly.
And I do think it, maybe it would be helpful in the future to provide last year's list, because the comments of it being a wish list, there was a lot of projects that were knocked off of it,
Yeah, and there's been some progress. One of the concerns, this would be my last comment, is a lot of these, like especially the near project, I've learned that the numbers kind of they don't really mean anything. So they're just, they're arbitrary,
Well, ductile iron's gonna change costs
Yeah,
every
yeah,
day.
so the numbers we know, you just kind of, well, they mean nothing. I mean, isn't that the truth? The
It's the
numbers.
best we can do with,
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
with the best information we have.
Yeah,
That's why it's deemed a planning document,
Right.
whatever that means.
Dave?
I have no comments.
Right. All in favor, say aye.
I'll vote yes, because I'm not,
I,
I'm not concerned
All right.
about it. I don't think they're gonna happen anyway.
Unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, if we could go to a Cascade Ave. Bid,
We missed something?
Contract.
3B.
yeah, 3B, it's on the changes to the agenda. And I just realized it's not in council business, but. it should
Oh,
be.
changes to the agenda 3B,
Yeah.
then it wasn't added down in section 10.
Yes, so I apologize for that, but I just wanted to make sure that we still covered that.
This is a contract.
Yes,
So please remind whatever motion you do make to include the dollar amount, please.
ooh,
And yeah, this was,
Yeah, I was just waiting for Mr. Mayor.
So that was supposed to be under council business.
yes,
Oh, so that's why we're
Okay.
shoehorning it in, right?
All right, I'll
Yeah.
make the motion, the council approve the bid amount for $778,456 pre-tax amount to be awarded to Swofford Excavating LLC.
Wow, that is dead heat.
Lucy.
Lucy takes it. We have a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
opposed,
Mr. Cox,
Opposed.
opposed,
thank you.
All right, now moving on to.
yes, so this is an issue that we were recently made aware of, and it stems from the fact that for a while here in City Hall, there was disagreement on when sewers, when sewer billing should commence. there were some at City Hall who said, it should start when occupancy is certified. And there were others who said it should start at installation. And unfortunately, the language in the ordinance does not make it clear whatsoever. And so for a period of ranging now for some months, possibly longer, there were customers who were not billed during that period. And so we still need to gather more facts on the actual numbers and the impact, which is why we removed the resolution tonight, because we wanted to get you an accurate number, but we still wanted to bring this up for discussion and to recommend that we make a change to the ordinance to clarify that language of if it starts at occupancy or at the time of installation.
So are we just teeing this up, or are we gonna, is this
Yeah, I think we're talking
fodder
about-
for discussion?
Fodder for discussion.
Okay, so do you have the confusing language so that we can mull it over?
I will.
So, while the city administrator is looking at that, I just want to remind council that RCW 35A.80.010 allows for the city to correct billing errors as a statute. So if you get down the road and this becomes an issue, you do have authority to correct those. Simply remind you that there are obviously some issues that you want to worry about, whether or not what's the period of time that you're trying to reach back? Is it years? Is it months? You know, it's something that that the city council should consider, but you have to do that under the umbrella of the city is not permitted to give public funds away. So if there's a means to collect it and the council chooses not to proceed with that, we would want to make sure that our record is clear in case the state auditor came in and said, you guys failed to collect dollars that are due you, and therefore we're going to penalize you for not making that procedure. So I just would, in the fodder for discussion, remind you that you want to consider that whenever you do bring this up, so that you don't run afoul of the state auditor at the same time, making the correct decision for the citizens.
So, Mayor, question of clarification on that. So if we cannot put ourselves in a position of being in default of collecting public funds if we haven't provided for an appropriate ordinance specifying when those funds are supposed to be collected. Is that correct?
Right, so if the city says, hey, this is the ordinance that we were working under, we did it correctly, but we're gonna change the ordinance. Fine, don't go back and back bill, because you're not making a change, you actually collected correctly according to your ordinance. If you wish to change the ordinance to say it's date of installation versus date of connection, that's certainly up to the city. You know, the statute does provide for you to allow to start billing on the date it's installed. So,
So Cody, do you have that in front of you?
If
I'm looking through it and really there's nothing to point out because there is no language
It doesn't
about
say either way.
when it
Okay,
starts,
so
so
it
there's
doesn't-
nothing.
That's our
to-
problem.
you're just
to
looking
point
for
to.
input at this point?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, my endpoint is we shouldn't be billing people for services that they can't avail themselves of until they get a certificate of occupancy.
But if they have water installed, they can use the water. Like they use it
If they
during
can use it,
construction.
if they can use it, they get billed for it.
Like there's water for construction. so-
Nobody's gonna be, which,
That's gonna come for occupancy. The water will. and
The
same
water
with
will.
sewer.
if it's being utilized, yeah.
Would the sewer be utilized?
Yeah, potentially if they're using water, they could be using the sewer as well.
I would go for occupancy, when they get the occupancy permit, because I think what that does is give the city, everybody an incentive. It puts an incentive on the city to approve occupancy. And I'm not trying to say the city drags their feet on that, but I just know of cases here in Stevenson where it's just a PR problem because they say I couldn't even live there. The city wouldn't let me live there. I couldn't turn on my kitchen sink. I couldn't do this. And so, and I just think that probably during construction, I don't know if there's a great amount of water being used. I mean, so just occupancy just seems more fair and easier to sell to the public.
As not a builder, I also, yeah, like, I mean, I don't know before you receive your occupancy, how much usage is normal or is even happens. Like, I don't know that answer. So that's not something that I would, I mean, are we talking do people normally, before they get an occupancy permit, or is for 6 months, is somebody using the water and sewer all the
Didn't we
time?
have a
Like, I
reduced rate for that at one point?
I
on the
think we
bid?
flattened that out with the last rate study.
Yeah, I just don't know, like I said, I'm not in that.
Yeah, so Mr.
Arena.
Johnson, so typically, obviously having water on site for whatever you need while you're in construction, but the biggest one is testing your water lines once they've been installed. You gotta fill everything up, you gotta get it tested, so you have to have water available.
Right.
What you'll see is a handle put on the site
Mhm.
that they'll just connect with a garden hose, and so the contractor will use that during the construction. You're not in there using the stove or anything like that,
Right.
because you haven't received occupancy yet.
Right.
But there is an amount of water that gets used during construction.
That's, I don't know.
And it may be negligible, I don't,
And I think part of the other concern too is there are individuals that do move in before that certificate of occupancy. So then for 4 to 5 months, they are using the city services.
It's,
Are they allowed to do that?
no, but it's.
What are we gonna do? Right.
Which is another reason the city years ago stopped issuing TCOs.
Yeah,
Because we don't
Temporary.
want that
Right.
anymore, because we found
Right.
that certain people who were given that right for a TCO were abusing that
Abusing it,
right and
yeah.
didn't actually complete the items they were supposed to. So there was a direction from council at that point, no more TCOs.
Okay.
There's some projects that the water is installed, the meter is in place, and
Once it's been turned on by the
Meyer, it
city.
just sits there.
Yeah.
So do we go lock it up? It just,
Yeah.
as you can see, when you have anomalies in the billing,
Yeah,
stuff happens. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible, so there's no confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
Once,
fill it out one
my
way.
thought is,
once it's
you
turned on.
put
by
the
city.
meter in the ground and you turn the water on, and that needle snaps to.
Okay,
clock
You know,
front.
the water may be a different, because I can see where the water and the sewer could be treated differently. Water, I can see that because you can measure it and stuff. The sewer, most people, I mean, except for the people that cheat, most people aren't gonna be
using the toilets.
using the toilets. And what we have here, the sewer rates have gone up so high that these aren't small amounts of money. So I can see where somebody, who does construction for 3 months, the sewer line was put in there, and they get 3 months of sewer bill, and they think the house was still being built. So it just ends up being a big PR problem for us, where they're gonna hate the city. Why go there to our own citizens?
The certificate of occupancy for the city at this stage, isn't, what am I trying to say here? If we put it at certificate of occupancy and then we find out somebody is living there, now we have a cause to go in and enforce for some reason because they are using a service that they're not paying for. Right now, we don't have anything that's tied to that, and so there's no reason for us to enforce anything. If somebody is living in a home, the entities that have a reason to enforce something are the insurance provider for the homeowner who's living in a home. It's not, doesn't have final occupancy approval. The entity impacted is the homeowner mortgage payer who's not able to convert their construction loan to a long-term
What was the issue? we had?
to their long-term mortgage. So the emphasis to get a C of O is driven by others. If we're gonna start tying things to the C of O, then the emphasis to get that, or the emphasis to enforce that, will involve some sort of enforcement mechanism for us, which we don't have motivation to do right now.
So are you saying that would be a good thing? Because then everybody would have an incentive. I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm saying it puts us as more as a regulator than we currently are. And do we want to be more of a regulator?
So the
I don't think our
suggestion
community wants that.
that we were kind of throwing around today is, what'd you call it, Cody? Once you go there and say this sewer is operational.
Yeah, so we have an inspection for a single family residence. I or public works director usually, or somebody they're in my place, inspects our sewer tap. So when the tap goes into our sewer main line, we are on site to make sure it's done properly and using the correct equipment. So at that point, then they are connected to the city sewer.
Can I ask you a question? How often does that point come and then construction will go on for 6 months or a year before they get occupancy? Is that very common?
It can happen, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so it just seems like they're already stressful, they're paying tons of money. And then they get this big bill and they're thinking, it just seems to me a PR problem because it's like, I don't even live there and I'm having to pay this, I'm not using it. You know, we get into that and that is true, you get into it, and so is it worth it? To have that bad will over that when really they're not using it, the sewer, maybe the water. That's why I see there could be a distinction, but they're not in there using the sewer.
I
mean,
think
it
it's
shouldn't.
reasonable to expect that once you're hooked up, you're paying for it.
Right.
I would assume, I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought, I'm not using it. I would have assumed if I were a homeowner and this was an ambiguous thing and that's
Well-
spelled out, I would have assumed
So the new car that you put in the garage?
Did, we
the argument too, and I got off the dealer.
used to have the ability for,
Encourage your contractors to use the toilets and then.
Hang on, Lucy is trying to provide comment.
I'm sorry.
You guys could give her
I'm listening.
opportunity to provide comment. Go ahead, Lucy.
Listen,
we used to have the ability for people who leave to shut off service and not pay. And we removed that so that if you're connected, you pay,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, we did do that.
whether you're using it or not.
Yeah, people were leaving they would turn it off for the winter and then turn it back on when they got back. And
Yeah.
we changed that a couple years.
Yes, and we all saw what happened
ago.
in the intro for that. So yes, you're
Right.
right. There
It's
is
now an
already
active
a precedent that we decided on.
Right,
it's a different situation because one's building and construction and the other, they're going to Palm Springs for the
right.
winter.
No, you're right. I mean, it is different, but I guess it was, that was absolutely.
I mean, there's an analogy that's legitimate. I agree.
So that's what we'll,
We're not asking for a vote or anything.
No,
This is
but
just discussion.
staff is gonna take some direction from this conversation.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
Another consideration, when somebody gets their building permit, to construct their home, they have a grace period where they can move a, RV onto the site and live in that for 6 months, or extend that 6-month period if approved by the planning commission. So, when that RV is on, there's a potential that those property owners that are choosing to move an RV on and live in that during the construction period are, have their black water tank going straight to it. So, the policy as it currently is written is that it's once the premises is connected, timed out, but. And so it just starts, once that connection happens, in some of the scenarios that Cody described, so that would cover that scenario where somebody moves an RV on. Pushing into occupancy doesn't cover that scenario, and is that scenario something that you're concerned about, that we should fill the gap with?
So Cody, once they're connected, do they sign up and everything?
No, it's an inspection, and then it's noted in our cloud permit system that they can sign off.
The homeowner wouldn't sign off on the inspection. The city-
No, just that they've been notified that their services are available. So we don't get any problems in the future with them coming back on billing or. whatever.
Typically, the contractor would inform them, but
We don't do that
Yeah,
now.
the city doesn't
because
do
we
that.
don't.
There's
have
no
a clear-
language now.
We don't have a clear path right
Yeah.
now. So
if that's something that council wishes to address, let staff know so we
that
can
might-
incorporate that in the ordinance.
Yeah, prevent that problem.
Well, and that came up in the conversation today as well.
Okay.
So what is there a trigger in place? So
Yeah.
yes, we can have this discussion on when it actually starts. But if the trigger doesn't, if the flag doesn't go up and the billing still hasn't started, the last thing we want to do is come to this table and say, oh, did it again. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Trying to keep this as simple as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, and we're talking about going forward, future. We're not talking, you're not coming and saying, hey, we did it for these 10 people and what do we do with these 10 people? That isn't what we have before us. You're saying, what's your preference for the future from this point on? How do you want this clarified?
Correct, yes.
Because one thing to do, you could say that if they have an RV or it's something they're allowed to do that, I would call that occupancy. You see what I mean? Because they're
There's no
using it.
Certificate associated with that, though.
Is
So
there-
are you
is
looking
there-
for a
I
certificate of
thought-
occupancy
Yeah,
or actual occupancy?
Is there,
a difference?
well, I guess the question is, you're probably right. Is there anything, can they just automatically move an RV onto their property when they're building, or do they have to come to the city and say, can I do that?
They've got a 6-month grace period, so building permit, once it's issued, it's valid. for
They
6
can then
months.
do that.
And so
Okay, I get
that 6-month grace period that coincides with that, if it extends beyond that, then they need to ask the city for it, but yeah, there's no.
And keep on this is based on a building permit. You buy a piece of land and you want to go improve it and go camping every other weekend.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
no
I
building
get
permit
that,
in the mix.
yeah.
the current policy says monthly charges shall be paid for any period of time during which the premises served are connected to water or sewer facilities. And so the premises implies what? It doesn't imply building.
Right.
And so you're asking for a shift in that basic thing, which is fine.
Oh, yeah, and I would have interpreted premises as something you walk into. I would have thought of it as a building. I'm not giving you argument, I just would have, that's how in my mind, I would have said there's no premises like on our property right now. Because I can't, use nothing to walk into, so.
Gotcha, it's just
There's
land
no
right now.
premise like premise.
Yeah. There's no. I have to give you credit for that. And a few others, probably.
All right, any more thoughts before we move along?
Do the staff have direction, because I heard so many different things there.
Yeah.
I mean, is there,
Sounds like the general consensus, correct me if I'm wrong, general consensus is when the water is attached to the water meter, you are paying for water. And once Cody goes out and says this connection is good,
for the sewer?
you start paying for sewer.
So we're water and sewer, you're saying?
And that there be
No, it
some-
sounds like you
some
got,
notification to the homeowner to that effect. That
Correct.
their building is starting on such and such a date or whatever.
It's on control.
I was too, I was like, do we have a distinction, is direction distinguish between water and sewer hookups in their time? I didn't get that, if that was the direction.
So right now, it's just sewer where there's no clear language on it. The
Okay,
water is clear.
okay, so
Yeah,
that
it's just
helps.
sewer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
You know, right?
Useful, thank you. All right, you do have some informational items in your packet. I'd like to move into staff reports. Looks like you're up first, Ben.
Community Development Department, we continue to work with Skamania County on the update to our critical areas ordinance. There will be public informational push out at National Night Out the week after next. So trying to get the information out there that this update is required and that we're looking at policies related to that. So again, the critical areas ordinance is a state mandated set of regulations that protect frequently flooded areas, geologically hazardous areas, fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas, wetlands, and critical operating charge areas. The direction that we're pursuing there, well, and in the course of making those updates, the regulations we have are based on best available science. There have been some substantial changes in the best available science interpretation of what's necessary to protect streams and wetlands. We are reviewing that science, reviewing whether there's a rationale to, oh, I'm getting my jargon confused, somehow deviate from that science for how it would apply here. So instead of site potential tree height, which is the current best available science, that means the height that a tree based on the soils of an area are likely to grow when they're 200 years old. So a 200-year-old tree, how tall is that? And the appropriate buffer from a stream should be that height. Here, it's between 185 and 196, whether it's a hemlock or a fir tree for this area. That is a sea change in comparison to what we currently have for our buffers, which range from 35 feet to 150 feet. So a 35-foot buffer today, if we were applying the best available science, would become a 186 or 180 plus.
And
So
it's not because we were gonna plant a tree, right? This is if a tree fell down
Potential.
after 200 years
yeah, if a tree that grew to 200 years old fell down,
and people heard it.
if you alert, then that would have some habitat protective quality or some function. So
Let alone that we are in the middle of the city and kind of want to use the property.
Yeah.
Best available sites.
right, science is immune to that. So reviewing that's going to be a big part, I think, of the public discussion on this, and we'll start providing some of that information and should have a draft set of regulations based on the public involvement efforts this time next year. So it'll be a while we're doing that analysis and then seeking public input on that. We are partnering with the county, or we're authorized to adopt what the county adopts. So we're partnering with them in the sense that we are letting them lead that policy discussion, knowing that it's their policy to adopt or not adopt, and then we can choose to adopt that once it's in place. So that continues to move on. At the planning commission level, we are going to initiate our public involvement push for review of short-term rental regulations. So this is what you have directed down to the planning commission to review. So we will start that public engagement. Largely, that is to hold a listening session to inform the community. Hey, we want to look at this. We've had citizen input to look at short-term rentals, Airbnb regulations, and so come on in, talk to us, tell us what's working about those, what's not working about those, and use that to inform the next steps of how that policy might play out. You remember you were presented with a policy that would be more restrictive than our current policy is. And so that would be part of the review and how that would guide things. With the passage of the sewer ordinance tonight, my involvement of that will step back and we'll hand over implementation to Cody and Wes. To that, the effective date is September 1st. So there's time for them to prep and get the letters and message out to the immediately impacted. The development is, as far as construction is picked up a little bit. It was slower in Q2 than I anticipated, but it has picked up a little bit, and we anticipate some more coming in. Most of that development is occurring in Chenevere, single family homes in Chenevere, and so that's the 50 odd lots that were part of phase 2. Handful of permits are in, a handful more expected there. After that builds out, Hidden Ridge is already built out, Chenevere is already built out. We've got one developer in the center of town that's doing development, and once he completes that, there's not going to be an inventory of lots to build on. So trying to predict the future one way or the other's fraught, but that could mean that we would see some pressure to have subdivisions, so people would realize that there might be some additional profit now that there are no other lots, and so we might see some subdivisions coming to us. We might see some annexation requests coming to us because there's not a lot of vacant land in the city to subdivide. It's all based on those owners' wills and what the market says, but the market will heat up as fewer lots are available to develop. The other thing to consider as fewer lots are available to develop, or as we build out, is the impact that will have on your budgets. So specifically what I'm talking about is the specific budget that I wanted to note is the sales use tax. Construction involves purchasing supplies, purchasing all the things that end up becoming a house, and sales taxes due on those. And so the sales tax curve that you've seen over the last few years and has been presented to you as part of that discussion with the TBD is based on the construction, the high levels of construction we've seen. As that tails off, the sales and use tax shouldn't be expected to keep up where it had been. So it's something to monitor as you go forward. And
Does planning ever take it upon itself to reach out to individual property owners about the possibility of future development? And lining them up with business investors or anything?
It hasn't been anything that we've been asked to do. It hasn't been something that has come up as a concept really to consider. So.
There are properties in town that could be developed that are individually owned that, and they've chosen not to sell because they're waiting for the market to go up or what, but if we reach out to those people maybe, or if we have investors that are interested in coming into our community, that we can reach out to some of those property holders.
Certainly could.
Question, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben, in your best practices for the critical areas, are you including in the fire hazards that we've been discussing?
It hasn't been a topic that's come up at the project management meetings. The county regulations, I think, are silent on it. Ours have some allowances to do fire mitigation that makes it easier than a full-blown permit. I don't believe I've seen that in the counties, but I also haven't searched for it specifically. We're not to the stage of that ordinance development to be focusing on the policies and the what should be. It's understand what we're not focusing on the what should be for Skamania County or Stevenson. We're understanding what should be according to the state. So we just haven't reached that stage yet there.
Okay, thank you.
Well, was it, if there was, I know that the Rock Creek project had.
Is that still going?
Yeah.
Permits are in for that. They've satisfied all of their all of relevant shoreline approvals that they need.
Okay, that was my question.
Final stages of public works.
Yeah, they're close. Part of the stuff Ben was talking about with the sewer ERUs is kind of holding them up a little bit. How we calculate and determine commercial SDCs for the sewer side. So the standard right now is to have them being the architect or the engineer to kind of help determine those. So we're kind of waiting on numbers from them. Other than that, I'll be able to finalize their public works there. Cool.
Are we talking about Guy Maldonado?
Dean Maldonado's property, yes, sir.
Or excuse me, yeah, right. Thank you.
Just as clarification, because I see some question marks and some of our people here. The property right next to the
Assisted living.
the well-care, yeah, assisted living facility.
Right, the fence had gone up, gone down, come back up.
The old hillside. Thank you. Old hillside. Cody?
Yeah. We've been busy, it's summer, so things always get busier. Water especially has been busy with a lot of testing. So in the last month and a half, we've had to fulfill lead and copper inventory testing, our PFAS, nitrates, and some other biannual testing requirements. In addition, we had to fill out our consumer report. It's our annual report we fill out and send out to all our customers. That has been done. We received the final report of our long-term water supply, the 1A phase, and they narrowed down some options, and we kind of were stuck in between groundwater and surface water, which is where we knew we'd end up, but it's how we got there. So we gave them some feedback to Grayling for 1B, and we're waiting for scoping. And then once we're able to narrow that down, they'll actually come in and meet with council and kind of talk about options there.
Now, is that gonna line up with the need to update our water plan? Are they gonna be offset?
The water plan will, yeah, probably be more off of this, depending on which way we go.
One will start the other.
Yeah. one
Got
will
it.
start the other.
Makes sense.
In addition to water, I've been working on getting quotes for reservoir cleaning. Wastewater, things are going pretty good. Our pump station project is very close to being finalized. The work's done. It's just the paperwork side of things that are waiting on closeout. Wastewater treatment plant project is again, very close to being finished. We are waiting for one cable to get replaced and then a final walkthrough from our engineering team and Stellar J as well. And then once that's done, we should be able to clear that one out. Street projects are going on, wayfinding signs are completed. I'm sure you guys have noticed those throughout the town. They look really good. The crew did a fantastic job on them. First street project is also completed. Again, waiting on those final paperwork, mostly state stuff. Lasher project is making steady progress. 90% plan should be sometime next month. A lot of work right now, making sure archaeological services are all intact. Our reports are sent to the tribal partners in the area. Cascade Ave improvements will be going forward. We will contract with Smallford. That project is expected to start in September and then early November. And paving projects, we have been working with the county now that we have a new agreement. We will be paving on Ash Alley, Seymour and Railroad. All three streets are in desperate need of it. There'll be some prep and some crew involvement on our end. The crew has been working in Walnut Park and a few of the other parks. They were able to get weed cloth and dirt down in an area that was just really bad. The SDA had a spruce up day that did a lot of phenomenal work in there, but there was just one little corner left and the crew was able to get in there this last week and punch that out. In addition, we're looking to bring a mulch truck in and blow in bark dust to all of the beds on first and second. We try to do that every few years, so I'm getting quotes on that right now as well, just to kind of spruce up the town. SDA or Downtown Association purchased 2,500 daffodil bulbs. So we've been talking with them about where to put them, strategically placing. And
Mary perked up.
And then with our staff update, and this is my last update, it's my apologies for not being able to be here our last meeting, so I wasn't able to provide this update, but I'm very excited to. We had over 40 applications for utility maintenance and support. Yeah, we had a lot, and we had some fine candidates. We were able to narrow it down, perform a handful of interviews, and eventually offered our position to Jake Truelove. And he's accepted, and he started on the 23rd. He's been on for close to a month, and he's been doing quite well. Jake brings assortment of skills and knowledge in troubleshooting pumps and repairing pumps, preventive maintenance, building schedules and such forth. So his skill sets are definitely appreciated. In addition, our last vacant position is our wastewater operator. We did interviews this week and I think we had 18 for that. So again, a good number of applicants. And we are expected to come to an agreement, make an offer on that position. They're married before there's question.
Well, I just wondered why the council wasn't applauding.
It should be.
Well, specifically for the closure of the pump station projects and the wastewater. The pump station projects on its own is one of the biggest capital improvements the city's ever made.
Yeah.
The wastewater treatment plant project is by far the biggest capital improvement that we've ever made, and doing both of those simultaneously is overwhelming. So the fact that we're coming to the conclusion of that should be celebrated.
It's exciting that we're almost at this.
Clap, Mary.
Very glad for me.
Yeah, we were going through just the planning and still looking at budget planning for the wastewater plant about this time 8 years ago.
Oh,
Because I was unopposed for mayor and I was coming to all the meetings, so there was, yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time.
these big projects take a long time.
Just a couple quick questions. The last year project, and I asked this before and I've just forgotten the answer. How much the funding that we have that we know is secure will take us through, if you know, to what point in that project? I know we got the funding for all the planning that's happening now in the public involvement, but where does it end if we don't get more funding? Where are we?
If we don't get more funding for it, then, so like, I'm pursuing TIB funding for the extra cost right now, but like, if that doesn't come through, we can, probably push the project or finance or some other creative options.
Okay, so, but we have right now, it'll go through, what is in the bank that, when do we run out of money on the project or where you'd have to find new revenue? Does that make sense?
I think so. So right now, the only money we're spending is on our engineering services.
Okay, so you get an engineer.
Yeah, so we have an engineer who's designing it. And we're working very closely with them and their team. So we have, I don't know the dollar amount.
Okay,
but
yeah,
that
that's
was
fine.
approved for them to build this plan. So right now, we're just paying for the plan.
Okay, so we're gonna end up with a set of plans and what we want.
Yes.
And then at that point, we gotta find the financing somehow or figure out how to
Some of
pay
it's been
people.
identified. We have some already
Okay,
locked in.
okay.
And we're looking for more. And then once we get to a place where we feel comfortable, that'll get presented to you guys and gals, just like it did with the Swafford contract tonight.
I just have one more technical question.
Yeah.
I had a resident tell me this and I don't know if it's true or not, and I'm just curious. The trees around town, do we have any conflict with fast growing trees that we've chosen that interfere with the sewer lines and stuff because they seek water and stuff, or is that, I'm just trying to figure out, is there any truth to that? Do we have any conflict between trees and sewer lines that are habitual?
Oh, absolutely, but not typically the ones on the sidewalk.
Okay,
Usually when we have a cross-country line and people have bushes or trees.
okay, so it's not like the decorative trees we planted up and down, so we don't have any.
No, not that I am aware of. I've never
Okay,
had
or any in the
issues.
crosswalk, okay,
Yeah,
I just.
the trees that were, Ben can probably speak to it more because he was more involved in the planning, but they're very city-friendly trees. Their
Okay.
roots grow, certain ways, so they don't bulge up the sidewalks, they're not supposed to.
Okay,
And then they don't impede
Okay.
utilities.
okay, thanks.
And there, when we do a project, the review of what's under the ground is part of determining whether a tree is going in place there. So
Okay.
on Russell Street, we did the improvement there. There is a storm sewer line that's going down under the sidewalk on the east side of Russell. There's no trees on the east side of Russell for that reason.
Okay.
So, yeah, for the downtown area where there are street trees, that's a heavily engineered. Lots of decisions, making sure that conflicts are avoided to the best degree possible.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is saying when we get that last cable, I
What?
think that'll be when we cheer.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we were waiting for
We've been
that.
waiting-
Okay,
like-
Mary
yeah,
can do it
like
now, we're
that
waiting
we
for
go.
the cable.
That MLR cable is
I
gonna
know,
be.
I know.
We've already talked about this. We did have a groundbreaking ceremony. So we will have a ribbon cutting on the wastewater plant. So Cody's gonna work with the guys and make sure it's sparkle shine ready for an event, and we'll all go down there and get the big old scissors and celebrate our success. Cool.
I'm not standing next to the mister. I did that last time.
That's
That
an
was-
inside joke, but it's still funny.
Not fun.
Go ahead.
All right, I will keep it relatively brief. So first off, I would like to thank everyone for your well wishes and support as I was dealing with a medical issue in June. That meant a lot, so thank you. I really appreciate it. I am happy to report that I am healing up well and I'm back in the office and back to work, so I'm feeling good and ready to get back to it. Oh, and a special thanks to the team here who stepped up at that time. Finance director, I know something we're eager for. We're moving forward with the hiring. We have about 15 applicants right now. And so I'm hoping to start interviews in the next week or two and to then move quickly on the process to get them onboarded as soon as possible. The financial audit, I have been in contact with the state auditor's office. We have 3 different audits that all lined up perfectly this year. But I will be working on those through mid-September. But we set up a good schedule and I don't foresee any issues on that. Finally, I just wanted to talk about the office standard operating procedures and the flow of things here at City Hall and a priority of mine, especially just in the first few months of me being city administrator, has been to update and create new standard operating procedures. I think it's vital that our staff have clear guidelines and policies in place to follow. And so I've made that a really big priority here. And so I am very happy with the response and the enthusiasm about that by the staff here. And I think we're already seeing improvements. And it's really important, I just want to say, not just for us to function well, but also for the customers here, because if we don't know how to operate internally, it's, you know, going to be that much harder on the customers. And so I'm really working to make sure that when you come to City Hall and you want permitting or need to fill something out, that it is as painless as possible. So I just wanted to note that we are making some headway on that. So. And report.
Only comment for the greater good of council is, I don't know if you know this, the Spargery, which is like I like to call it, actually sold.
I saw that.
So it's sold in June. Don't know what's going in yet, but there is a buyer for it. Just for edification, when Frank bought the building, he paid $220 for it and it only sold for $263. So 20 years later, the appreciation was 40 grand.
I heard it dropped. I didn't know that it dropped to that.
So just historically, anybody who's sat at the Spargery or Mama's Red House or whatever it was after that.
Yeah.
Wild.
That
5:30.
But it is, supposedly there may be a breakfast place or a lunch type place maybe going in, but that is rumor.
Well,
Yeah,
curious
it's
to see
rumored,
if they
yeah.
use that upstairs. That's the last
Right.
upstairs space that is unused.
Mhm.
All right, mayor and council reports. Do any of you have anything for the greater good? Anything that you'd like to see on next month's agenda? All right, this is an opportunity for members of the gallery to provide additional public comment on items that we've already talked about. Gary.
Yes, thank you.
You're not mentioned that.
I want to talk about what Cody was talking about, bark dust, which sucks. We should not use it. We need mulch or dirt, compost. Many of you probably don't remember, but the Grange took on the project of the Stevenson Grange number 121, of which I am the president, took on the project of beautifying our town during Earth Days. And for 3 years, or 4 years actually, we did the west end and the east end. We planted the dogwood tree, we planted the shrubbery, and on the west end, the tulips, crocuses, etc. The city would pay for those. We bought them at A&J, the plants, but we did the labor and we took care of it. And as you know, I'm the co-coordinator of the Stevenson Community Garden, so I know of what I speak when I say that mulch is good, bark dust is bad. And we need to build up that soil on the east and west end, so our city stays beautiful. And the tip, when we talk about all the planning for the roads, I think one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and I hope that's part of the future discussion when roads get done, is undergrounding our utilities. I think that's very, very important in an area where fires and ice storms happen, and we want to keep our staff safe. And undergrounding, I think, helps that. So I'd like to put that into the conversation. And I think I remember our sewer system having a dirty movie made at one point. They did a film of all the sewer systems, speaking of trees that go into sewers. And there was we had a firm did the movie of our entire sewer system. So that must be somewhere, right, Ben?
Portions, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's my input. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you for the hard work, all of you.
And there is one bit of business that we cannot forget. I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
All right, first and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Dave?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 8:10.
Eight, 10. All right.